Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Time with Startup CEOs. Today, I have with me a very special guest. Roberto Croci is the Microsoft for Startups Managing Director out in the Middle East, North Africa, and Turkey as well. He's had a vast experience of building and enabling startups across the region. He, frankly, is one of our biggest supporters as well at Reshape Co, which is the Gen Z consulting company that I run, and he was sort of like one of the earliest sort of believers in us, I would say. And since that, he saw it as just possibly an idea or something like that when we went to him initially, and I was just initially doing this bit of a reach out, and then Roberto was like, you know what, I'm going to connect you with X, Y, and Z people. I'm going to have our Microsoft Startups community back you. And since then, we've gone to help about 40 different companies around the world with go-to-market and branding strategy. And we've also had, about 210 consultants that we've sort of helped gain experience. And, it couldn't have been possible without you, Roberto. Thank you so much for coming on. How are you doing?
Thank you so much, Joel. I'm doing very well. It's a pleasure being with you today, sharing some chai together. Curiously enough, she's from Romania, and in Romanian, the word for tea is chai is the same. So I'm happy to share some time with you and have a conversation around startups, the ecosystem, what you are doing with Reshape. I know I'm a big supporter on, and then definitely look forward to see more progress and success of what you're doing.
Yeah, amazing. Thank you, Roberto. And also, just because our audience is very particular about the chai thing, can we see your cup? Awesome. All right. We got a Ferrari in Italy. Yeah. Does that come with the car or not so much?
Yeah, but it's in scale, so it's 1 to 30.
Fair enough. And okay, so Roberto, tell us a little bit about Microsoft for Startups and what you guys do in the region. I know you connect sort of various stakeholders and manage so many people from private sector to public sector. Tell us a little bit more about what you guys do. How can a startup approach you, and what would you be able to do to support them?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me start from the why. Why we are doing? Why Microsoft is supporting startups? So first of all, it ultimately connects back to the mission that Microsoft has as a company, which is that of empowering every single person and organization in the world to achieve more. So we took the Microsoft mission and made ours by focusing on startups, right? So we want to empower every founder and startup in the region to achieve more. And what does it mean to achieve more? It means that we want to be relevant to startups and help them grow in the different stages that the startups are through the life cycle, right? So whether they are, in the seed stage, they are pre-product market fit and they are trying to find product market fit, or they just found product market fit and it's survival, right? So it's okay, we found an addressable market and then what about growth and scale and so on and so forth. So it connects back to Microsoft mission also because Microsoft is very strong in working with corporates, enterprises. So the mission is to build a connected ecosystem where on one hand we can work more as trusted advisors to large enterprises and corporates, bringing them innovation, maybe help solve innovation through startups, at the same time giving more business opportunity to startups, so connecting them to corporates that are trying to solve for specific use cases. And by doing that, helping the startups during their growth journey, accelerating sales, we can help these two entities at the same time by building this ecosystem and having more players than working also on Microsoft solutions. So this is the why behind Microsoft, why Microsoft is working with startups. What we do with startups across East and Africa is basically we're trying to bridge the gap between B2B startups and corporates and enterprises, right? So we have specific programs where we are bringing these two players together, where we are working with corporates to help define their challenges and the use cases and put them forward, and then select startups and join this program and work with the corporates around those challenges. This is a new program that we recently launched in the region, and this is Growth X Accelerator. And then we have Microsoft for Startups, which is the global program. It's more a breadth program where we don't necessarily have corporates that are sharing challenges, but we have startups, of course, that are in need to find the right partner in their journey to scale or in their journey to growth. So we have designed our in-program experience for startups, whether they are in GrowthX or in Microsoft for Startups, around three main pillars. First pillar is tech enablement. So we want to empower startups to build on our technology, to build great products, to build solid architectures, reliable, secure, looking at the privacy for data and users, and architectures that can be open to integrate with third-party apps and maybe cost optimization as well. The second pillar is access. So how can we empower startups to not only customers, but also expanding in other markets where they might not have found any local partnerships yet, or they might need support to get in front of the right people. And we have a worldwide access that we can leverage with Microsoft Presence that we can leverage as an asset for startups that join our program. So we work on things like go-to-market, enterprise sales, go-to-market plans. We work to onboard startups on the marketplace, Microsoft Marketplace, and turn them into partners so that the broader organization can make the most of this sell-with motion of the startup. And the third pillar is investor readiness. So definitely we want to be able to move a startup from a point A to point B in their journey. So when it comes to investor readiness, depending on which round what is the next round that they're going for, we definitely are helping them to review the strategy for the investment, connect with right investors, or invite relevant startups to investor demo days that we periodically do across our portfolio during the year. So This is Microsoft for Startups. We have different programs for startups at different stages of their life cycle. And we definitely help founders and startups to be successful and build sustainable businesses to grow. And definitely we want to leverage also the key assets that Microsoft has, additional value, on top of giving credit to the cloud vendor. But Microsoft is way more than that. So we're looking product industry, worldwide access, partner and sales channels. So these are all assets that we try to make available to startups to join.
Yeah, and I think that's great. Sort of expanding Microsoft's already massive reach into the world of startups and being a key enabler. I'm sure it's not the most profitable business in the world compared to their other businesses, but then still I think it's a necessary point for Microsoft to be involved in. You mentioned investor readiness, I guess, and that sort of sparked a question in my head. A lot of us entrepreneurs are always like, when's the right time to raise money? We are pre-product, pre-market fit, or maybe we've just launched a beta, we have a few users. Oh, we have 30% month-on-month growth, even though we have only 10, 20 users. So, at what point do you think someone is sort of ready to go out there and start fundraising? And in what stage should they ideally do that? What would be, let's say I've just, I've got beta and I've just got early traction on it. Am I ready to fundraise, or should I be waiting? What should be the play there?
No, look, the way I look at it is I look at fundraising as a partnership. And being a partnership for me, I should always be fundraising in this sense, in the sense that, finding the right partner requires time, and it's a bi-directional relationship. It's not just myself as a founder that needs money and I'm trying every single door to get some money, but I believe it's a two-way communication, because what I'm trying to raise from a fundraiser, from a venture capital or an angel investor, ultimately is not free. Money comes with a cost, so the conversation should be around the value. So how smart is that money? How value comes by getting that money and bringing someone else on board who have a say in the direction of my company and in the execution of my company, right? So it's a partnership, and being a partnership, as I said before, for me it's a game that is always on. Because it comes with telling your story, right? And telling your story and getting feedback as well. So first of all, being open to that can only be a positive thing for what you're doing. At the same time, is identifying who the right investors are, because sometimes I'm approached by startups and they say, what are the top investors in your region? Please connect me to those. how do you define top investors? Is it the number of deals, the size of the deals, or are there investors that are more specific to a specific industry, so that you're looking also for the network, the value of the network, or the access that these investors can give you to, and so on and so forth, right? So for me, it's not that there is a right moment or a wrong moment. Definitely, I would say before taking someone else's money that comes with someone else's equity and my company, I would say I have some homework to do as a founder, right? So there are many things that can prove without raising necessarily big amounts of money in the very early stage, but having a strategy behind that, and doing also a reverse due diligence. So it's not just expecting that an investor is going to do this on my business. So of course I need to be prepared to share my story, to share other markets, to share market strategy, pricing in my team, the usual things, right? But it's also due diligence. So me as a founder I'm doing work, using my network to understand who are the main investors that I should be talking to. Why is that? What's my strategy for raising money? How much I'm willing to give as equity and why? And what I'm going to use the money for, right? So it's like partnerships are understanding the mutual value that I'm getting from a partner like a capital and people. So am I comfortable and how do I feel with those people, investors that I'm going to interact with, right? So it really depends. Sometimes you see founders that spend most of their time trying to fundraise, but at the same time they forgot about their team and their product. So there should be a balance around that, and a real investment of time to understand the key players in the market or in the regions that you are trying to fundraise from, and what's the story that you're going to tell, and why you would raise that money to do what. So it's basics, but ultimately it boils down to having a clarity around and the strategy around fundraising more than I need to fundraise because I just need money. It's more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're the second person who I've interviewed on this sort of channel to say that. I interviewed Kim Kaplan. She's the founder of Snack, essentially, and they raised about $3.5 million in a pre-seed round, which is, to my knowledge, that's pretty insane. Like, I've not heard of a lot of startups raising that much at pre-seed. But she was saying that you have to sort of find your champions, essentially, within these venture capital, organizations, and like find those people, the right people, essentially, and then sort of line them up in like quick succession, essentially, and have those conversations and go out there and fundraise. Whereas initially, when I was first founding a startup, I think everyone kept saying, oh, I got rejected by 100 VCs before I got the one person that believed in me. And I think I took that too much at face value and just started reaching out to 100 VCs, literally. It wasn't so much like who's in fintech, who's in social fintech. Like, it wasn't really that approach. And I think that was the biggest mistake on that end. That's another funny story, but like, I guess like sometimes you're happy that things don't work out. But then I guess on this sort of entrepreneurial piece, you've spoken pretty highly about your dad, who is an entrepreneur as well. Tell us about the influence of family on business and startups in your life, and as well as how you see family impact founders, in the context of the people that you're working with right now.
Yeah, look, we always talk, it's a beautiful question, because we always talk about, when we talk about startups, we tend to focus on their idea, the problem that they're trying to solve, the idea that they have, and then we jump in the solution, we see, addressable market, we see what the solution is about, how they're going to market, and blah, blah, the usual thing, right? So, but we tend to forget about who is the person in front of us. So who really is that founder that is risking his own money, his time, his reputation, and his career sometimes, and his life to build something that he or she believes in, right? So, and ultimately, the question about who that person is fundamental, because one, we know that it's mainly about people, right? So the quality of the people, how committed they are in solving that problem and how passionate they are, but also how they're able to make goals and listening to users and pivot and be flexible, blah, blah, blah. So, but at the same time, the same question boils down to the roots of where you're coming from. You are, where you have your roots. What is in your experience where you are trying maybe to connect the dots, as the famous Steve Jobs speech, right? So at some point in his life, he came to realize that he had two different experiences, that he could have connected the dots across those and create something new, that it was something coming from inside himself, but knowing who he really was. So the same thing here is for every founder, I guess, is spending time and making time, and I would say investing time in really understanding who you are as a person, where you come from, where your roots, your values are, because those are the things that will keep you alive, that will keep your head high when things go wrong, right? So because when everything goes well, everybody's celebrating the round of funding, everybody's celebrating your growth, everybody's celebrating things when are going well. But what about when things start not going well? When you're turned down by many investors, when you're turned down by customers, by other people that have simply don't see what you're doing. So knowing who you are and where you come from and who you want to be as well is essential, right? Is at the core of what authentic leadership means. Meaning, if you don't have that knowledge, you don't build the baseline against which you measure as well, and you receive feedbacks from other people. You reduce your unknowns, and you are more aware of where you are in the journey. There was this movie from Peter Sellers, In the Garden, where at some point he was saying, in the garden there are seasons, and first you have spring and summer, and then you have winter and fall, but then you have again spring and summer, and so on and so forth, right? So nothing really happens in the garden. And if you think about it, it's so true, it's so natural, right? So whatever happens in your life, my point of view is you need to do everything to prevent someone else to sever your roots. Because your roots is your identity, is where you come from, is what gives you some inputs about what your values are in life, the experiences you got from your family that can play a role, in both in the good sense and in the negative sense. Sometimes, for example, in this region, in this part of the world, I hear a lot of times there is this stigma about reputation, because still don't want their kids at some point in their life to go and be entrepreneurs, because it's very risky. So they want to go in these pure careers, university, 5 years, degree, and so on and so forth, right? But more experiences in life, and you will face yourself you have different motivations, and you set different expectations. And so if you don't know who you are and what drives you and what you're good at, on top of what the work requires, and when there is a real problem to solve, you cannot find that truth where the magic happens. But nobody will ever come to you and tell you are. You can only know that within yourself. So you need to search within yourself. And to do that, the first thing, you need to make time. You need to make time, and you can do that in different ways. There are people that do that through meditation. There are people that, like myself, that do that by going and having a run and jogging. There are people that drink chai and they spend time thinking about or reading a book or hiking or whatever, right? So it doesn't really matter. It matters that you see the process of being more intentional about defining who you are. That comes also with what is your purpose, right? Because once you have more clarity, and by the way, that can change in your life, but once you have that clarity, you can build a plan towards, okay, this is who I am and who I want to be, and this is my purpose. So these are the next steps, or these are the experiences I want to force myself into. These are the people in my network that I don't have in my network that I want to reach out. And so you become more intentional as well in the next steps of the actions you take in order to get closer to realizing that purpose. So in my case, my family had a significant impact. My father, I've been growing up with my father was an entrepreneur, and he was always around, right? So was driving 150,000 kilometers per year, always here and there to find his customers. And he hired my mother as the CFO and the more precise person in the team, right? So, but he came out from a difficult situation, right? Imagine those time. He was a kid when World War II hit Europe. he was 11 years old, so he was not able to complete studies as we have been lucky to, right? So it's a privilege that we had. But so he had to become that sort of street smart person that learns the tips and tricks from people that hired him at the beginning and learn from the street. But sometimes you see that's the best learning as well, because you understand how business works, how people do business, how money works. You understand how you receive goods and money in a company, and you get it. You have been living that. So I have always been living with someone who like in my family, there was no certainty, right? Because he had to find his customer himself. He had to, the ups and downs that you go when you live in a family where your dad is an entrepreneur. It's not like he's a solid career that is written for the next 20 years, and it's different, right? So I've been growing up in that environment, so I've always admired what he was doing, because I always felt, well, he's creating something new every day. It should be exciting, right? So he can drive here and there, meet people, talk to people, learn from them, trying to get something happen. It is his own thing, and I saw how passionate he was about it. And he could make compromises, but he always had the direction of making that thing work, because he was believing in what he was doing, right? So I believe these are a set of values and experiences that you have. But even if you don't grow up in a family where your dad is an entrepreneur, I guess life forces you in situations, in relationships, in friendships, in many other situations where you are exposed to situations, right? And then it's a matter of being open and being vulnerable and searching within yourself how you feel versus the situations and what really drives you. And then being more aware, about what your talent, where you. What drives your energy, what drives your interest, your passion, your purpose, and go for that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I feel pretty captivated by what Roberto just said. I'm just like, oh, man, probably should not shed a tear, but everything what you said, it's so true. I guess it's totally different when you don't, like you said, have your life planned out for the next 20 years. Or it's kind of scary as well, because I'm in those shoes right now, and I'm just like, technically speaking, if I was to cash in this LSE degree, I've pretty much got my path set out for me, right? Like, you can become an investment banker, you can do private equity, you can do whatever the hell it is you want to do, and then have a linear progression, very much set out path for you. But yeah, it goes back to the piece about purpose that you said, and sort of your why, and what you said about time as well, like taking the time to realize why you need to be doing things you should be doing. I had that time, I think, about 3 years back, when I was just taking that opportunity to sort of reflect and see why am I doing the things that I'm doing, essentially, and then realize that I want to be able to build something that's bigger than myself, that sort of impacts more people than myself. And I think that's when I sort of went into the entrepreneurship route, went into nonprofits, and then after that, now obviously trying to build something for myself and for all other entrepreneurs as well. So completely resonate with that on so many different levels. I think that's so cool. Tell me about, you mentioned street smarts, right? And I'm going totally off on a tangent now, because I wanted to ask you about Google and Microsoft, but I'm just blown away by this conversation. You said street smarts, and then how did your dad feel about you sort of or how did you feel about sort of going to Harvard when that the street smarts bit is sort of your customer feedback loop, is sort of your how you deal with money and stuff. What did you feel about going to Harvard after knowing all of these things already, after being a part of an entrepreneurial family earlier?
Yeah, look, it's been something that I didn't plan for a long time, honestly. But the opportunity came, and I was very curious about it, and it's one of the best experiences I've ever done, honestly. So I have to tell you. So I did this. So my Harvard experience came after probably 13 years of professional experience, or even more. And so all the people that were attending that program was an executive program, so were people with experience. So for me, the value of doing that was living the experience, building a wider network of people, like-minded people that maybe are at a stage in their career where they were seeking for something else, and building also lifelong friendships, right, as well. So the experience has been amazing. I mean, the faculty at Harvard is top notch. They have their main product is the case, right? So you don't really go into studying theory. You are delivered a good number of cases, and basically you need to show up to the class with that point of view. That's it. Or at least this is the way I see it. So you need to have your point of view, and then what the faculty is really good at, or really kick ass at doing at Harvard, is stimulate this debate, right? So all of these cases, you put yourself in the shoes of the main character, which could be the CEO, the CMO, or whoever, right? The main character of the case study. But it's very interesting how they guided the whole class to have a debate, because it's not a black and white answer. So it's a more gray area. There is more uncertainty, and then you see in the class people with different experiences and diverse backgrounds that they see different angles that you didn't necessarily see in the first place. So you end up looking at the same problem from many different angles through a debate, and the faculty then is really brilliant in taking you to some sort of conclusion, which is, again, it's not a right or wrong answer, but there are different conclusions, right? So, and the other thing is that you learn to look at business not only from business lenses, but also ethical lenses, legal lenses. So you definitely have a more open mind when you come out of these sort of experiences, because you are more aware of what are the drivers, the lenses, the dimensions that you look at a single problem from, and also what different opinions people with different backgrounds can contribute to, and how to involve them into, for example, a decision, or into making sort of a plan, and so on and so forth. So I love that. Plus, of course, the experience, right? So the experience of meeting people that have background, so they have something to say. Everybody come there with their own experience, and there is so many brilliant people in the world, right? So that have so much relevant experiences that if you put that on the table, even the smaller cohort of people that they create within the larger cohort, it's immense learnings from that, because you work with for a period of time with people that have solid experience, that are interested to and willing to share, and you build friendships, which is priceless. Yeah. So the experience has been the fact that how does that call it the street smart? I think it's part of the street smart, because of course it's a privilege, because not many people get selected from Harvard, but at the same time, if those people are able to make a difference and give back, then you can take those back to street smart, right, as well. So it's a matter of realizing you're constantly learning, right? So you're constantly learning from all sorts of people, from people that are more operational to people that are more strategic, working from people from different backgrounds, learning from people from different experiences, and so on and so forth. So you should always be investing in yourself. That's the key takeaway, is nobody will ever come to you and say, I want to invest in you, if I see that you are investing in yourself first. So why should I invest in you? You're not willing to work on yourself and invest in yourself. So these situations you create with time, you create with your experience. When you see the opportunity, some people wants to do an MBA right after they finish university. For me, was a different sort of experience. I wanted to have more working experience into another program, and have some to share as well, and to share with other people, and so on and so forth. So I believe it's more about the mindset, right? It's about the mindset of being humble and listening to the people, because you always have something to learn from everyone else, and building on top of each other, right? So then, of course, you need to come with your own synthesis of things, or your convergence of, in the expansion phase, I listened to this many ideas, these crazy learnings. At some point, you need to make some decisions. So you need to make these things converge to something. And this is your unique synthesis or summarization of things. But this differentiates you from anyone else, because the way you do that is specific to you yourself, who you are, right? As we said before. but it's this phase of going street smart, going to places where you can learn a lot from other people, putting yourself into many other experiences. So before you mentioned about your degree, but definitely what I see going forward is people that will be managing more a portfolio of jobs or a portfolio of experiences rather than just one single career or one single job at a time. Yeah. Most likely. Not everyone maybe, but I see it like you yourself you will need to be more proactive into building this portfolio of things that you manage yourself according to the different interests, so that you can also test what you are willing to do and what's your real purpose in life, and then you can maybe specialize or take one main direction. But this is ultimately up to you. I mean, whether it's a street smart will, I in Dubai, I had the chance to interview a legend, a great football player, and he told me that when I asked him who has been your favorite coach, and he said he named a coach that he had when he was in the youth team, in the young team of Ajax in Netherlands, and because this coach was basically teaching them the street football. Because they were saying, if you don't know, you've never done street football, you don't know many of the basics and fundamentals of what football really is. And he was telling me that with time, this has been lost because kids are less in the streets, because the coaches are using other techniques and so on and so forth. But the fundamentals of football, so he's building now an app to teach kids how to control your body, how to do those things, and let them practice that, right? So it's not only business; it's also, it's also what you learn in the streets is as valuable as what you would learn in a university.
Yeah, that's so true. And you mentioned in between sort of investing in yourself before others kind of invest in you. I think that's a big piece that I can definitely relate to. That was something that was said by On Deck. I don't know if you're familiar with On Deck. It's like this sort of a program essentially, that sort of connects various entrepreneurs with like various mentors and conducts like various sessions on important factors that are relevant to entrepreneurs. So I'm actually in contention for one of their programs that it's called the Catalyst program, and one of the alumni of the program is like a 23-year-old girl that's raised like $1.6 million for her own fund to invest in pre-seed and seed startups. So that's insane, right? Like that's the world we live in right now. And those are the kind of people that I want to be a part of. When people think about MBAs and things like that, it's a $200,000 price tag essentially at the end of it. And they compare that with a program like this now, like On Deck essentially, which is disrupting this entire MBA kind of category, because people essentially pay for the network. And if the network is quite strong, I mean, if you're getting these kind of people in On Deck, then how does it stand against the likes of Harvard, right? So On Deck is a program that costs, I think, about roughly $2,000 something. So that's quite a significant uptick, I would say, almost 100 times more. What do you feel about that?
Look, for me, as you say, I look into the value, right? So there is value in a program that would cost significantly less, but is getting me some new skills or something new that I want to learn. And there might be value in a program that is way more expensive, but of course, it depends on what value you think that you're going to get out of it, right? So what's in it for me, for example, in a program like Harvard, which definitely is definitely way more expensive. There have been many things and I would say number one has been the network of people that became friends for life, and network of people that have an incredible network themselves. So being part of that community as well is something that probably is worth that money in terms of the access that you can get by doing that. At the same time, it's a portfolio of things, right? So it's not that you do one thing, you get a degree, and you're done because you use that, and that's the end point. No, it's part of the journey, right? So, and you never stop learning. So you might always be in need of reinventing or reinvesting by consequencing on yourself. So if sometimes is the $2,000 course that give me a specific skill or refresh a specific learning or helps me to connect to a specific set of audience and so on and so forth, why not? I mean, it's not some people look at the prestige of the names, right? So I have Harvard on my curriculum, so I have all doors open. I don't think that's a right way to do it, because if you are not able to make the most of it, you're going to lose it in any way. So, and it has to be true to your purpose. So, as if you don't like finance and you don't like to hang out with a bunch of people that only talk about finance, why would you put yourself into that if that's not your purpose, your passion, right? So, just because it's prestigious doesn't mean anything. So to me, the conversation is always about what can add value in the journey from where I am now to where I want to be. What is in my to-be, and depending on that, then you make some choices. Whether it's an Harvard-like kind of program, the right thing for you at that stage, whether it's some other courses that are focusing more on technical skills or soft skills, or whether it's not a course or it's just a different job or a different experience or a sabbatical or a conversations with friends or an improv course on how to deal with communication and so on and so forth, right? So it should be fit a purpose and should be something that you enjoy during the journey, not an end state where, okay, I did Harvard, I'm done, I'm arrived, now everybody comes to me.
I've arrived. That's hilarious. And sort of, I know Roberto is running short on time. I'm so sorry. I've overrun as well. Just like 3 quick rapid fire questions to wrap this up, right? Startup culture. What are the pillars of startup culture for anyone that's setting up a company, essentially? What would you say those are?
Pillars of startup culture. So I believe, well, it starts with the founders because, of course, they're setting it up across the startup in a small team. So I would say it starts with clarity of purpose. So the founders are the ones that are building that clarity of purpose, they're building the purpose first and then the clarity around the purpose that they have. Because if you cannot communicate it and nobody understands it, then it's like it's not there, right? So clarity of purpose and communications, to keep communications away from jargons, away from politics, away from should be very informal, very like you would do at a coffee machine. And then I would say the culture is about you as a leader, what standards you walk past, or what, and implicitly by doing that you accept, and what behaviors you reward. Because you might end up hiring people that are fiercely independent and autonomous, because of course you want to empower everyone to have the autonomy to execute and have the experience to execute. But at the same time, you need to become invincible as a team. So it's about people that are able to gain credit, for example, right? So and you as a founder, again, you have a responsibility to decide basically what behaviors can be accepted, what behaviors cannot be accepted. And by doing that, you set the culture. And of course, the last point is hiring. So you don't hire for people that have great curriculum. You hire for skills. You hire for attitude. You hire for culture, and not just culture fit. So you hire for people that can marry the purpose, that really live by the purpose. And even if they don't know the syntax, something that you can read in the book, but they have the right attitude and the right purpose, they can learn the rest by doing the job.
Yeah. Okay. And quickly on the next one, since I can't follow up on this, just because of the time. Middle East and crypto, I'm building a tokenized social media platform for entrepreneurs, and sort of that's in the social crypto space. Where do you think the movements are happening in crypto in the Middle East and North Africa, Turkey right now? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question because we're talking about a region where it's underserved across many dimensions. So if you look at, broadly speaking, the MENA region, there are countries where you have a big population, percentage of the population, countries that is unbanked. Think about Egypt, for example, 80% is unbanked. Or think about Pakistan, where you have 200 million people, young population, but still cash-based economy. Digitization is starting, so there is a lot of opportunities looking ahead. So definitely, the Middle East has been looking for a way to diversifying their economy. And definitely crypto is something that is getting increased attention and increased investments from Middle East players. So the whole investment that the government is doing around the blockchain, for example, or DeFi, there are many things happening around that space, and there are many fintechs at the same time that are building with great ideas from the Middle East, with also international players or unicorns that came to set up their local regional office in the region, from Ripple to Stripe and so on and so forth. Yeah. So when it comes specifically to crypto, I believe there are opportunities here, because if you look at the three main players, right? So from Coinbase to Kraken and Binance, none of them has a local presence in our region. A few of those, as far as I know, they might have done local partnerships with some startups that are investing into the crypto. Yeah. So and there have been movements also around the NFTs as well, that with the first pieces of art that have been sold as NFTs from the Middle East region, from the UAE. So the UAE specifically, I would say, with regulatory entities like the DGM, the FC are very interested as well to see if the regulations are there to support more development. But definitely there have been some ideas here that have been flourishing around the concept of crypto. So I'm positive to see more startups, more founders that are willing to build around crypto from the UAE or across the MENA region.
Yeah, that's amazing. And finally, what's the vision for Microsoft for Startups? What's next for you? Any big announcements that you would like to exclusively share with Shiva Startup CEOs?
No, look, the vision for us is definitely to gain more market share, of course, when it comes to startups that are willing to build on Microsoft technology, but because they see Microsoft as a partner that is not just yet another cloud vendor where we can get credit from, but is a true partner that can be with startups in their journey to grow. So definitely for us, the deal flow of startups that join our program is as important as the in-program experience of startups that will be in the program and will be working with and helping them across the pillars I mentioned before, from tech enablement, access to markets, and investor readiness. So the vision is to help founders and startups across the Middle East and Africa to achieve more. Keeping in mind that for us there are key values as well when it comes to social impact, sustainability, accessibility. So we believe that founders have a great responsibility towards users and citizens by building products and solutions and companies that really tackle the real challenges, the real problems we face with humanity, and that impact on millions of people. So this marries with the values that Microsoft has as a company to build for everyone and to tackle real problems that we are facing as a society, from sustainability, climate change, pollution, environment, and so on and so forth. So definitely our vision is to empower also a wave of entrepreneurs and founders that are human-centered leaders, that look, of course, at the profitability of the businesses that they are building, but also at the sustainability of these businesses and the impact and the social impact that they are creating by building these businesses. So this is the opportunity we see ahead. We have an opportunity to really build inclusion across a diverse region like Middle East and Africa, where I believe in many situations founders can leapfrog technologies and provide solutions to millions of people that can improve their life, and even if they leapfrog a number of solutions that have been adopted elsewhere, that's a real opportunity to tap into young populations with a lot of challenges around. So this is the vision, and this is where we are committed to help and to stay here to support startups in their journey.
Yeah, amazing. I was going to ask you about Microsoft Teams and why the video calling tool is still not that great. But I guess we have run out of time, so I won't have to get your opinion on that. But thank you so much, Roberto, for joining.
It is my pleasure.
Uh, but thank you so much, Roberta, for taking the time. I know we overran, so I really appreciate you staying on. I hope everyone watching this really gained a lot out of this. Roberto is a key enabler in the space. His team is fantastic as well, by the way. Reach out to them if you're building a startup in the MENA region. Like, you got to get in touch with them. They are a key enabler, and potentially you could even build off of their platforms, whether it's the growth program or any of the other accelerators that they typically run. Thank you so much, Roberto, and we will see you all in the next episode of Chai with Startup CEOs. Don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button. All right, I think that's all we got time for.